I was in the kitchen, Dad's in the next room, and at the same time when they lose, we're both just yelling.
I love this team, mostly because I love talking about how big they throw. Zen, you are looking for a new team?
They look so promising.
Good evening, folks. Hope you're all having a good night. And we're here for the RLO Power Rankings. By the way, we've got anime hair Zen over here. How you going, dude? How's the haircut?
Oh my god. Thanks, man. I took a shower last night. I hopped into bed and I was like, it's going to look great tomorrow for the RLO Power Rankings.
Show off the chat. You're cute. You're pretty earrings.
Oh my god, thanks. Wow.
Yeah, look at them.
They're so nice. So edgy.
Awesome. How you doing, Bass?
Yeah, doing well. Doing well. Good to be here.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we just had the third event. We had the third regional. We have sent Pioneers and, of course, Renegades across to LA. And from what we hear, maybe Zen, you know a little bit more. Both of them are going to be boot camping.
I got no clue what they're doing, young.
Oh, I thought you were friends with everyone. What?
Yeah, I'm really inside the circles around every friend group. I really know what they're doing.
Just friends with Cobbo, that's all.
Yeah, and you know what? That's safe. It's good.
I don't know if that's safe. I always feel like sometimes he looked like he's trying to murder the screen, so don't know if...
He'd be drowning me in his hair grease. That would be the worst case, I think.
Well, actually, I kind of know somewhat about that. I think Pioneers are planning a boot camp, they said on stream. A bit of a shorter one. And I think Renegades are heading over 2 weeks in advance. So they'll have a 2-week boot camp, like a full 2 weeks before they actually get to the venue. So that'll be awesome. We finally have a potential to get to a top 8. We thinking top 8, either of you guys?
I think for Renegades, definitely. I think Pioneers have a point to prove. I don't know. They're a bit of a dark horse, I feel like. It depends on the seeding, because I think that's not released yet, or even what it will look like. So I think depending on who they match up with, if they get an APAC team or a SAM team to define that third seed getting out of their group, then I think they might have a strong chance. But I think they're going to go lower bracket again, but we'll have to wait and see. But I think Renegades should at least take hopefully 1 to 2 series after last major.
Man, if kids just like play peak kids, they're just winning their group. That's just how it's going to be. And if they get nervous, then they just bottom their group 0-9.
Do you really believe they win their group if they're playing their best?
I mean, who's in their group?
We don't know the group. We don't even know everyone who's qualified. We've still got a weekend of matches. So
I'm still in full split mode. I'm thinking just Swiss.
Yeah.
But
yeah, well, that's going to be fun. The groups they say that they'll be confident against Sam and APAC. So I don't think they'll have APAC in their group. They'll get lucky to have APAC in their group, I feel like. But what was your main takeaways from this event / the split, Bass?
I think realistically, like, some of the teams performed well. I think, you looked at the likes of Ground Zero, they came out. They performed well.
Some teams performed well and some teams didn't. Some teams won and some teams lost. That's a great thing.
That's so crazy.
This is why we bring Bass on. It's like the expert, like down in the depths. You watch the weekend and you're like, okay, how did things go? Well, some teams did well. Bass, keep going.
That's okay.
Who lost, Bass?
Oh, well, the team that I was wanting to get to a Game 7 didn't even get to verse Pioneers. So Kibbles, to me, was the main surprise. I think, it was talked about all split or all regional that they were just team for fun. Mock Ghost, the whole roster switching. They brought in Vixen and they performed well. I think they upset a couple of teams. I didn't expect them to really perform well. And they nearly upset a major team. So, yeah, I think it was good. It was good to see. But again, Direwolves, I know I used to be in that organization, but they shut the bed a bit, and this man on my right destroyed them. Bit of revenge.
Bit of a premium cock block. Now my takeaways was like, I think there's a lot more depth now. Like, there's actually like 4 teams that could actually win an event now. You look at Fall Split, it's just the Renegades GZ story. But now you've got like 4 actual contenders and Direwolves Pioneers as well.
Are Direwolves actual contenders, or was that one?
Well, they won an event. They actually won one.
Yeah, but what happened since then?
I don't know what happened since then, Yomi. What happened to the playstyle, man? What stopped them winning?
I don't know. I think it's the Direwolves just story. They win one event, get themselves too excited, too riled up.
And that's just foot off the pedal, all good.
Yeah.
And hit revert, yeah. Hit undo.
Hit the undo button a couple times. I was really impressed with some of the bubble teams. Like, I love Trident. I've loved watching Trident for the past couple of events. Until they make a top 8, it's kind of on the fence about them, especially getting reverse swept over the weekend. But I really like watching Trident. Same thing with 1620 Kings. And then you've got just below that top 4 event winning contention, you've got us and Riot, which
and technically Bandits. Bandits coming 9th. Thoughts?
Oh man, was Zaid the problem? Was Zaid really the problem, man?
I'm actually so mad at them because I had that whole stream right in advance, and I was talking about how stupid it was to give up seeding, especially giving up points for the seeding, especially heading into the double elim split. And Hawk was like, "Oh, bad seeding better than having Zaid." And I'm like, no, it really isn't. And now they're going to go into the 3rd split as like number 11 or 12th seed again. And probably verse maybe for Kidden or Ground Zero 1st round in the upper bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, seeding better than Zaid, you end up with Group D. You end up with Group of Death.
Group of Death, yep. And then they also then walk out of Group of Death and then verse Pioneers. So, yeah, I didn't like the move, especially when I saw how the groups ended up. I was just like, that's the price you pay for what you do.
I can understand the reasoning. Getting the 2 weeks extra practice, or like being able to practice on game day, is of course handy. But I don't know. It's pretty damn risky for 2 weeks of extra practice, realistically.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tragedy when you're just going in as like an okay seed for groups, and then you just sort of run luck of the draw for coming through opens.
There's a good chance I'll have a tough run in the lower bracket of double elims too. I mean, it's not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of upsets next split as well, so they're going to be up maybe against KCP again in the lower bracket.
Yeah, and they've written off Worlds as well. They were in the wings, like they weren't contenders.
Let's be honest, they're not making Worlds. Like, you really think Juice Bandits are going to win every single event for the next split? Like, that's just not happening.
No. But they were there to be dark horses to other teams and stuff like that were close around their range. But yeah, you just throw away points. As I said last podcast, what's the point? What's the point playing the first half of the season just to do that? So
also $1,800, but you know.
Yeah, but yeah. Other than the money.
Also, I want to go back for you, Zen, to what Bass said as one of his takeaways is the Kibbles were an excellent team. Kibbles up against KCP, Game 5 overtime. If KCP lose, they're not going to the major. Thoughts on that series? Was that Kibbles playing well?
Oh, look, I've said this about since the past couple of events, but their floor is really low. Like, I'm not sure whether it's nerves or whether it's just consistency or something like that. They've come second, like, in the past 2 events, yeah. But, they come top 3 all 3 events. But their floor is really low. I don't know whether they're not feeling it, but at the same time, their ceiling's really high. Mm-hmm. So that's why I've got a lot of faith if they just have fun with it overseas. But I don't know. You just look at some of the results and you're thinking, what are they doing?
I actually think they've been really consistent. That series though made me worried. Like, it just looked like nerves, and I wonder what would happen if they actually had to play for their land spot.
Yeah.
Well, top 4. Yeah. Because Direwolves played before, didn't they?
Yeah.
So it was Direwolves already moved on, and then the pressure was on that they had to win that series to stay alive, and then it goes to Game 5, goes to OT. Should have even gone to OT is a question for the Kibbles defense. But then it swaps around, and it's Direwolves and Bliss play, and then that decides it. But
I mean, the one thing that Pioneers had is they missed 1 billion nets that, like, it crossbars over and over again. They got a little unfortunate, I would say, to have not scored one of them that would have won that series much easier. But even still, that's what has me worried about them potentially going overseas and being a bit nervous there. Previously, I kind of just assumed, yeah, they'll be fine. They're kids. They'll have a ball, but we'll see. We'll see. Listen, let's get into it before we spend too much time just talking nonsense. Let's get into the power rankings, and we're going to start with number 10, Dover, as usual. We're going to start with number 10, and that's Big Goose with Toby, Schmoop, and Sour. And well, these guys have consistently performed, I feel like, above expectations, and to the point now that their expectations are kind of a 9th to 12th, and the fact that they got a 7th to 8th, maybe a bit fortunate here, Zen. Maybe a bit fortunate with the groups and the group of death in Group D, but they still had to take down, some solid mid teams to do it.
Yeah, I've never played against Big Goose. I've watched a couple of their games. Like, you wouldn't peg them as like a top 6 team yet, but I mean, all I see is on Twitter with the highlights is just Toby like scoring some munted goals, and Schmoop and Sour just kind of existing. So I mean, maybe that's the game strat. Maybe they're pulling the direwolves where Toby's their fiver. I don't know, man.
Well, Schmoop has always played well, I feel like.
Yeah, he's always been consistent.
Toby's the one that's had the most random highlight goals for Twitter.
Yeah, for sure. There's some weird history that came out of that team over the weekend as well. They won and lost in a reverse sweep situation over the weekend, and they nearly also could have had a perfect sweep all in the same day. So that's just weird. But they also, in that, like your team that you picked before in your main takeaways, then Trident, they reverse sweep Trident, and it was the longest OT in that series to start that reverse sweep. Like, it's just some weird stuff comes out of that team with the Big Goose. That's just up and down, bit of a roller coaster. But yeah, getting them top 8, I think that's good for confidence. And now they've got a coach as well, so I should hopefully tune up some things.
I was so sad, man. I was watching that OT. I was in the kitchen. Dad's in the next room. And at the same time, when they lose, we're both just yelling. It was the worst moment. Completely put me off.
Wait, what are your thoughts on Sour, by the way? Just because he's the newest addition to the roster.
Man, Sour, like, what? I think Eros for that Gus initial pop-off when they first made top 8. I thought Sour was, like, probably the most inconsistent defender. He was, like, really struggling to hold it down. But, I mean, he left or he got kicked, either one. And he's, like, really picked it up. So, I mean, Sour's not completely doggers in my mind anymore.
Where's Gus and Remick now, huh?
I don't know. Where have they gone? They completely fall off the map, dude.
Failed to qualify the first one. Failed to show up. That's Ghost's fault in the second one.
It's alright. Just blame Ghost. Yeah. Blame Ghost for every single one of their players.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Ghost has ruined their season. They were on the way to
He's ruined their careers, dude.
Oh. Yeah. I think, Sour replaced Scout, I'm pretty sure. So I think Scout was having some availability. I think he was busy this split. So I think it's a good pickup for them. It's provided a bit more consistency. But yeah, that old roster of Eros, they've just gone through so many changes. They had Melkin in the last regional, and now they're again looking for someone. So they're just trying to fill a hole at the moment.
Zen, you are looking for a new team?
Man, they look so promising. I'm completely willing to dip on the entire Bliss org for this. This looks just too.
Take Vortex with you. You'll be right.
Yeah, okay. We'll dip on cover.
Yeah.
No dramas.
All right, number 9. We move on to 1620 Kings. And I love this team mostly because I love talking about how big they throw. Every single event, every single event of this split, you can actively say that they threw, that they put themselves in the position to get a top 8, and they failed. The first one, going game 5 against Wildcard, Ground Zero, and who was it in the group? Collateral. All they had to do is win 2 of those, and they go through. Then they take down Zen's team. Easy win over Team
Are we the
Bliss.
only team they haven't thrown against? Are we the only team?
You're the only team they haven't thrown against. They take down your team, but then Immediately after, they throw to Homie's team to give him the free top 8 after they actually did all the hard work. And then this one, they put themselves in the best group, in the best position to make it, and they lose and they fail to make top 8 again. They should have had at least one top 8 this split.
Yeah. Well, they won
I keep forgetting that we had to play Collateral instead of 1620 for that first event.
You just wiped it from your memory.
Well, I'm sure they've wiped the entire split from there.
Okay, who's better, 1620 Kings or Collateral?
Mate, Collateral gave us such a tough run for our money.
Yep.
No, I don't know. Do they just get nervous, man? Because like Collateral just sort of like lay over, they just rolled over and they're like, yeah, just take it.
I've always felt like Baked Potato is a bit of a nervy boy. I don't know about the other two.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have a clue.
Baked Potato being nerves, I think, as well, because that was Kuma's old roles. So he was nerves as well. Always when they struggle.
But the role is being nervous.
Nervous, that's the role. That's the slot. But Jaffa performed well this entire split.
Did he?
Octane said he was number 1. I had a couple of people message me like, how did you do the stats? Can you double check these? But no, he performed well. Just in front of Fiber, CJ, and Hawk. So I guess in the series against Bliss or other people, he just was the carry.
Incredible.
Is that how you felt, Zen? That Jaffa's the best player in OCE?
He actually is, though. Like, all 3 of them are just hard ranked warriors, and like sometimes you'll just see Jaffa on your back wall. You're like, he's not scoring that. And he just puts it in, and you're like, oh, I guess we just lose the series.
It has been funny because Jaffa and Ames, kind of in the off-season Intel World Open sort of time, they were grinding a lot of ranked and starting to actually come up, which is funny as well because both of them have been around for such a long time and not kind of made any waves, and I guess showed that they can still make that surge later on in their career, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think, Jaffa's been around for a while. Ames not as much in the top professional in our region, but he's been around.
Well, Ames is old school, dude.
I know, Ames is old school, yeah.
PSN.
Yeah, all that stuff. So, yeah, it's good to see them, perform. It's good to see him back performing well. But yeah, it's just up and down sometimes with them. It's really riding the wave still.
You'd almost call this like their trial period. Honestly, they're just trying to get experience. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Especially if it's coming out of ranked and you're like, oh, I've got 10,000 people watching me now choke.
It's promising. It's promising that they're getting close. As realistically a pretty new team at the competitive level. They'll be getting a lot of experience hopefully, and kind of dealing with the nerves, or even just getting experience helps you with your nerves. So hopefully that'll be really good workable for them going forward.
It's similar to like the Liquid situation. Sorry, cut you off.
No, that's fine. I was gonna say that being said, I'm still gonna call them throwers until they finally don't. Every single event they now have not just their own like performance on their back, but they have like kind of this expectation of everyone else that it's not going to go well for them.
Yeah, they're just another pair of ranked duo. Like Vortex and Snowy were a ranked duo, even with Bluey as well. So it's good to see another ranked, a lot of ranked gameplay with forming a duo partnerships come into RLCS and performing to a top 10 level now.
I don't know about the Snowy Vortex duo though.
Well,
that was more like a conglomerate around there of like random friends who were always playing with each other. Let's move into number 8 and the favorite of Bass as well. That's going to be the Kibbles, Mock Ghost and Vixen. One-time thing. This is what we were talking about. It's a one-time thing. It's a pickup team. As far as we know, Vixen's not going to be playing at all after this event. And Mock has a team. Ghost is probably going to try out for a team and get kicked immediately afterwards. That's your expectation of Zen, right? I just know Ghost. The number of times he's been on a team for 1 week and then got kicked for someone else, and not even his own fault most of the time, it is insane.
Cut us some slack. He might have just picked up some PSNs from ranked. He can't get kicked from there.
He could. I believe in him. What'll happen is like another team will disband and like Caveman Ben will become available or something, and they'll be like, you know what, we want that guy instead.
Unlucky.
Yeah, it's good to see they're just having fun. Like they just don't sit on the bench. At least they're registered. Unlike Unimail love letters, they just missed out. So for just mucking around. So good to see the Pioneers them versus the Pioneers. That was very defensive series. So if anyone wants to defend, Ghost had 18 saves at a 3.6 average per game. So they had like nearly 8 saves a game. They're just heavy in net. But I think the crossbar was the leading savior in that series.
To be fair, he did have 6 saves in one game as well, so that probably helps his stats.
Yeah, for sure. But they just scrambled defense, which I've seen Ghost do on multiple rosters. So I think it's just like Mock was the leader on offense on that roster, and Vixen just sort of floated around.
You serious? Vixen was like mustying it out of his corner. It was like half the reason they got out of defense, man. Come on, cut some slack.
Yeah, I actually had to rewatch the series. I actually missed the first couple of maps of it, so I just came into the back end of it, so I must have missed the musty. But yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, but did you see Vixen? You probably watched the last game where Vixen was super quiet. Yeah, I think he had less than 100 points and 15 ball touches in the final game.
Yeah,
18, I think it was. Something insanely low.
Yeah.
All right, Zen. Mock. Thoughts on Mock, where he might go, and how good he is.
I think Mock, from a mechanical perspective, is pretty talented. Like, he's definitely capable. It's just much more about the direction he gets. I know working with him for the off season before the fall split, he's really driven. Like, he's very easy to mold around where you want him to be. Mm-hmm. So if he gets the right direction, he could be easily a top player here.
Who do you think the right direction is for him?
I don't know, man. Who's making a shuffle?
Well, I mean, yeah, you could say Ground Zero or Renegades would obviously be a good pick for him, but, that's not going to happen, I don't think.
Yeah, I know. I just can't see any of these teams making shuffles.
Wait, do you think Direwolves make a shuffle?
If Direwolves made a shuffle, I don't know, man. Does he really want to play around Fiber? Does he just want to be supporting cast for the rest of his life?
I don't know.
I mean, if he was going to go somewhere, I'd say Riot.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, are Riot going to make a shuffle?
Surely.
Who knows? Yeah. Well, they need, even if they just become a 4-man roster and just activate him for game 7s, just to try something different.
4-man rosters, and it doesn't make sense in OC, to be honest.
No,
you're just diluting your prize winnings.
Yeah, but
what a throwback.
Yeah, it's just something. I think you got Ben as well as a free agent, so it'll be interesting to see where he lands. Even Zaid's floating around too.
Well, we've seen Zaid, Ben, and Shaw's scrimming together, so that's probably the likely result, since they've done more than one set of scrims together.
Yeah, that could be a good roster to see. Sure as to sit on the bench for Renegades, so yeah. So just following the trend, because whoever sits at Renegades bench then finds a team the next split, so maybe Mock sits on there for the last split and gets a good team at the end of it for going into the new season, but get some experience. But yeah, it's really hard to kind of put a spot. I think he's more than just a supportive player these days. I think he's trying to push to be a number 1 player on that roster. On any roster, I think he's a number 1, and you just build around him.
I think it's also time to get a little bit more spicy. So let's move into the Juice Bandits. We've already talked about them throwing their seeding. They're throwing themselves into the 7th place as well in the power ranking. So they've dropped 2 places down. They were firmly in number 5. And I don't know. Do you feel like with Zaid, Zen, that they were capable of getting more, or that they needed the change?
For me, it feels like more of a playstyle thing where they're completely built around Hawk, where Hawk will just cut for whatever he wants and go for whatever he wants. And I feel like that in itself just has like a very clear ceiling in terms of how far they can go. Like, it'll comfortably get you to a top 8, to a top 6, but breaking beyond that, I think is really hard because you are always relying on Hawk. For me, I think Zaid in the role that he played was pretty good. But when you compare him to Siki, I feel like Siki has a lot more to offer in terms of just like individual talent. Zaid was very much just like a bang baller, I think, in my mind at least.
Sitting there, scared boy.
Yeah, middle of net, backwards, just clear ball moment. But I mean, I think Siki with enough time should pull through. But even then, like I'm looking at Siki recently, and he hasn't really come through at all.
Yeah. I think you're right. Like I've been saying this in the long term. I think it is positive for the team, and that Siki will kind of turn them into more of a team, you know, rather than two guys being really passive and letting Hawk have it. And I know 100% that Sprat and Zaid wanted Hawk to not be the ball chasey cutty guy, right? Like they wanted to reel him in a lot. The thing is that doesn't work if you are just two passive players that let him do everything. When you have a player like that, you need to actually have a Chad to, you know, get in his way and not let him go on everything.
Oh yeah, Siki's definitely a Chad.
Yeah. So at least a Chad on the pitch, you know. We need to see him hit the weight still.
Well, you'd hope so. See some Met come through. Because I feel like Siki's also a bang baller, except he bangs the ball into the net. So I mean,
he wasn't on the weekend though, right?
Definitely not.
It was not. Yeah, it was very much Hawk. Even Sprat was getting more goals than Siki. So like that, I still feel like as if Siki's trying to find what his role is, other than just being just a straight soul shooter, which he was on Renegades. Mm-hmm. I think it's still he's gone over there when he was over in NA for a period, just being over there for a holiday. But yeah, trying to get a bit more exposure and look at a different type of play style. I think he's still got a little bit to go. I didn't really like it, the roster change with adding Siki, because it became, you know, two offensive players and then Sprat, who we've always criticized being that hard third man, was just transitioning up the field and now has sort of gone back to that third man role with these two in a way. But early days, he wasn't doing that. So I think it's interesting to see if Sprat does transition forward and Siki moves across the pitch in all three facets, or it's just Hawk at the front and the two of them are just in the back and passing the ball to him and just saying good luck.
Well, we have had the chance to see them in scrims on Kami stream at least, and well, there's no third man on that roster in scrims. They are. I have you experienced this? Zen. Have you experienced this where they're like pedal to the metal in scrims, and then when we watched them on the weekend, it wasn't so much?
The only thing I experienced with them is Copper goes for one bump. They throw a couple quick chats, and then all three of them are pre-jumping at you. So I don't think it's anything too constructive, but I'll take your word for it if they have no third man.
Yeah, it's when I was watching, they were very aggressive in scrims. They were just challenging everything, and that wasn't what we saw on the weekend, because that's a very difficult style to pull off when the pressure's on to throw balls.
How big was the contrast? Were they just camping net?
Oh, they weren't camping net. But...
They were too aggressive against Riot. They were very too aggressive. Like, the last two games in that series were 3-0, 4-0. And even the game earlier in the series, like, the games Riot won were all Bandits failed to score, so...
big counters.
Yeah, so I think they might have gone too trigger happy to begin with, but again, that's the first time we've seen them, and that was the first series as well, other than playing in the open qualifier, which they had to. Well, close qual.
Maybe they do strike a good balance with Siki and Hawk in the next split. Then they'd be like kind of dangerous, but at the moment, it's a bit of a you take one player out and then they're just backwards in net.
Yeah. I think there's definitely a lot of habits that need to be burnt out from the old to the new roster. So we'll see how that goes. I've got pretty good faith in them for the next split.
Yeah.
Well, they're talented for sure. Yeah.
Well, that group of Def and Pioneers, so tough start to a campaign as a team.
Yeah.
We actually they did have a tough batch against number 6 as well, Riot, because in groups Finn was playing incredibly. You could see it from the very, very beginning in the first series, where you just there was a moment where I saw Finn just going for a play, which sounds funny, but he was actually going for a play. And Finn is meant to be a playmaker. He's meant to be like a player who does a lot with the ball, and he actually went for it. It failed, but I was like, this is maybe a good day for Finn.
It's promising.
And then he kept going, you know, and it actually was working on that day, but then it disappeared on the Saturday.
Yeah.
But how much of that comes down to that not being their default there, and how much of it's just Finn being an individual into?
I know they want him to do that when we've talked to him and when we talked to Kaka, especially in interviews. But I just don't know if he's had the courage to do it, or the time, or I'm not sure, or if they're practicing that play style.
Does he just get alphaed? Like, it's very confusing.
Well, Kanga. Well, yeah, let's call them Kango. Have been playing a lot faster this last couple of events as well, right?
Yeah, they've turned the speed up, and for sure. And even Tango's tried to move forward. I've always seen Tango as being that defensive-minded player. That was like on his Canberra Havoc days. He was very much nothing would get past. I know it was a different roster.
Fair play.
Well, we'll see how you. Oh.
Wait, Bass has died.
Yeah.
No.
It happens.
No, I mean, I don't know. Versing Finn compared to Scrims, we verse right. Have we verse right at all? Slip my brain. I think we verse right at all.
No. You were on the opposite side of event one.
Yeah, because I know scrimming them, Finn's very much active on the ball. He's getting corner resets and doubles and whatnot, and he's actually pulling through with them. So maybe he's just not a game day.
Oh no.
Maybe he's just not a game day.
We should talk about who's a game day and who's not. Well, let's keep that in mind.
Because I'm looking at the events and Riot's matchups for the past 3 events, and they've just had rematches against Renegades and Kids for playoff, like every time. And you'd think that they'd make some progress, right?
It would also make sense because they've always been great on day one.
Yeah, it's a 3-day affair that they suck at.
Yeah, it's when it's like elimination day that things go downhill. Then again, they came third, in the last split, realistically. So they can't have been doing that bad on game
different
day
format
well.
though. I feel like different format.
True. They only needed to win one series to be doing that.
And was their first series free?
Their first series each time was probably pretty free last split, yeah. Until the third event where they came 8th in day one, and then had to verse Renegades and won in game 7.
Yeah, that's the story. They just have Renegades so often. But it's like this split's just been completely dead. They just haven't pulled through with anything yet.
Well, at least they got some game wins. They game wins in the playoffs this weekend.
Oh, so valid. No 08's happening.
No 08.
Thank God.
It was a 2-8 last event, and then what was it this event? 3-8. I think they improved. I'm going to bring that up.
Yeah.
I've been using my memory all night, and my memory is old and failing, so I can't rely on it too much.
Bass is giving you the stare down.
Yeah, he's not confident. He's like, I can't believe you don't remember the results.
Someone cover for me, guys.
Yeah.
Oh well. Results are in the run sheet.
Oh I'm not looking for the results from... he does actually have the actual results. There you go. Yeah, it was 3-8. It was 3-8. There we go. Improvement.
Valid.
If you go 4-8, well, if you get 4 wins, that possibly is a series win. So
I don't know.
Next event, we're expecting a series win, but the entire next event is playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna manage.
They just lose from round 1 because they're like, oh god, we're in the playoffs.
It's valid though. Like that's just been the story all season.
I'm alive.
Bass's mic is not.
I'm alive. Internet's going. Yeah. With next door's aircon, so.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Awesome.
What are you saying?
All right. Well, let's move on now that we've got our third here as well. To the team I hate the most, Team Bliss.
Oh,
Vortex, Cobo, and Zen. Number 5. I'm apparently a Bliss hater, so I'm gonna lean into that.
Thanks, buddy.
No worries. And 4th place again. And how do you keep getting gifted these 4th places? First time you got the easy bracket, you got the very easy run. Juice Bandits and Wildcard Freelo, and then this
It was
time
pretty free.
you got Dire Wolves who were literally pooing their pants mid broadcast.
Oh my god!
So you got a free win there as well, right?
So fortunate, I know. Almost like we topped our group as well.
Yeah. Nice. You got lucky win over Fakir, who were probably also pooping their pants.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with them in groups. I mean, Pioneers in groups was very different. It's like we versed them again in playoffs, but like for groups, it was just so free. Banana had own gold a couple times, signed the Bliss contract, and then in playoffs they just roll us. I don't know whether that's us or them.
Bass is gone again.
Yep, all good.
It happens.
But
sort of bit laggy, bit
awesome.
robot-y, but you know. By the way, do you think it's unfair that after this 4th place that Bliss are still behind Direwolves in the rankings?
Well, we're 1-1 now in playoffs against Direwolves, so I mean it's not completely unfair. They also won an event, which is kind of wild, but
yeah. Why'd they only win one event and then not make the major?
Because we're just better in the Nerve playoff because we wanted to win.
Well,
as
you
well,
also didn't make the major. Let's be clear on that.
No, but we wanted to see kids go. We were so certain kids were going to go.
Is that a personal grudge thing or?
No, not as much as you make it out to be.
Hey, I didn't talk about it all series until the end when you brought it up. So
what?
You're like, oh, it feels good to take down the Direwolves. Let's go.
No, and you were like, oh, it was pretty dirty on the way out, wasn't it? And I'm like, yeah, a little bit. I mean, yeah, we just run to Nervas on game day. Good seed.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the first one was Nervas. I think you were just the best out of those 3 teams. But, you know, you avoided ground zero for Kitten and Riot on the other side of the bracket, which might have been helpful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm there. I think for us, I joined the team like, what, a week before the split started up. So, I mean, to still come out on top, even though the other teams had like a big head start, was definitely feels good.
I still want you versus Riot. That's all I ever wanted.
That's all you hype up. And we're ahead of them in the PR, so we win.
It's just because we haven't seen you, you know? Like, we've seen you against everyone else, really, but not...
All good.
Not against Riot. It's unfair. Because it especially helps, like, differentiate where Riot really sits. It's Riot that we don't know because they do really well in groups and then come 5th, 6th because they've gone through the upper bracket and then lose out, right? That's the main reason we need to see Bliss versus Riot.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at the playoffs. And I'm just like, if you ran a show match right now, it'd just be like a Riot win, maybe. I mean, I don't know. They just show up in anything that isn't playoffs.
Bass, you got any final thoughts on Bliss and why they're so good?
They're so talented.
I don't know if it's going robotic or not, but I think just that series against Rivals just reverse play styles. So they just got something different that comes to that series. Yeah, I am robotic. What it would be.
Yeah, let's just get rid of Bass, you know. Maybe he could just turn on his webcam and go pure audio at some point. Anyway, yeah, against Direwolves looked nervous. They went to their old playstyle. Didn't work. But, you know, how far away are Bliss from contending as like one of those top 4 teams kind of thing? You know, contending with those top 4 teams that you talked about could make the major or could win an event, I should say.
Yeah, so you have those 4 teams now with Pioneers, Direwolves, Renegades, GZ, and I feel like us and Riot are just like just outside that bubble. I'd say for us especially, this split was definitely just like more of a test run. We were just trying out a lot of things, seeing what worked, getting the work ethic right, stuff like that. So I mean, sticking with the same roster, I think next split should be
confirmed staying together. Story.
Oh my god, valid.
Oh my god.
Oh my
First
god.
in OCE.
Actual, I know. You know, I'm talking about how good it is that teams are sticking together and being like contenders for winning. But I just know there's going to be like 3 or 4 shuffles happening.
Well,
so, throw it all in the bin.
It was part of the story that 6 teams stayed the same, but they got antsy. They got antsy after last split and started making mid-split changes. So, yeah. that it didn't last very long, but hopefully, I think we will still see a lot of rosters stay the same.
Oh yeah,
you'd
hope so.
Which will be kind of wild.
There's actually good competition now, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it helps the competition. It helps people play well from event one. Obviously Pioneers are going to stay together and have done for a while now. So
yeah,
Pioneers and Renegades have been together almost as long. Renegades obviously just ever so slightly longer, by weeks, but not by events. And then Ground Zero are the longest standing roster, which is crazy.
I mean, you'd hope so. It'd be weird to see a GZ disband.
All right, let's move on to number 4, Direwolves. We've already talked about them a lot, actually, weirdly enough, because Xenulus has a massive grudge against them.
Yeah, man. It's so big.
He hates them.
It's a colossal grudge.
What do you hate most about Direwolves?
Mostly how they just play bad on game day.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from regional 1.
I don't hate how. I think that I don't hate how they play bad on game day sometimes. I hate their play style when they are playing badly on game
when they're
day.
Nervous, yeah. The play style just comes through.
It goes back to last season. They were just so boring to watch because it's one person go for a solo play.
It's an air dribble.
And then the next 2 wait, see what happens. Oh, it worked out. We'll try and do our air dribble now. And it's just
go forward, guys.
It slows down the entire game. Like every single Direwolves series where they play like that is the slowest game in the history. Yeah. And I just remember Direwolves versus Cringe Society, who also was playing very defensively last season. And that was just slow versus slow. And I just wanted to die.
Yeah, imagine casting that.
Yeah, I don't have to imagine. I always brought a pillow if I knew I was casting that,
Pick a different team to cast. I mean, you get
back in the day, back last season, me and Jake just literally had to cast every series. Right?
That's just on you.
We didn't. What do you mean? We asked to get another caster in.
Where's Formal? Where was Formal?
In Brisbane.
This is... Huh?
Last season, we were asking to bring more people in. We wanted more people.
I said you're on the desk. Okay, yeah, I forgot.
We were in studio last season.
Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Hello? Am I back or no?
Oh, he's back.
Oh my! I want to. This storm, man. It's just pain.
I mean, there's storms everywhere, but you're the only one that's losing your internet from it. I don't think it's the storm's fault.
Stone
It's
hut.
your fault.
Mud hut internet.
Just have to upgrade, I guess.
Okay, Direwolves fan number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts on Direwolves number 4?
Could have even gone lower, to be honest.
Oof.
I don't know what's gone on in the last 2 regionals. I think they probably got in their own head winning the first one. Thought that they could go to major. Got all hyped up. Typical Direwolves fashion. Just in general, no matter if it's Rocket League, climb up the next 2. Firebug is a good standout. I think Walcott's been good on defense, brought the experience.
Oh, let's just say it. Walcott was not there, non-existent in their match against Bliss, which is surprising to me because I felt like Walcott's been really good since the beginning of the season, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's just probably the nerves got to him. I think, be the second time he's gone to a major, but
need the second hand towel.
Yeah, the second one, yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think just them rotating, but it was the flick between them and Pioneers with the 2 series back to back on both days to decide who would go to major. I think they just got in their own head and reverted play style. You could see it even in group stage where they lost. They got swept by Riot. I think they shouldn't have got swept. Should have at least put up more of a fight. But Riot is a group stage warrior, so
I do wonder what would have happened if the lower bracket was played the opposite side, so KCP were playing first, and they had all the pressure on them to win, waiting for Direwolves, because they were ahead as well. Like, it would have been awesome if they sort of lost a series, and then Direwolves had to win to make it. And if they lost it, rather than
it feels a little luck of the draw with the run.
Yeah.
Times.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, a little bit disappointed. Don't get to see Direwolves at a major or international thing again.
Yeah.
So
you never will, so it's okay.
yeah, it's fine. Time to choose a new team.
Manage a different org, man.
Yeah.
Manage Bliss.
I'm looking for something at the moment, so.
Yeah. But, well, Bliss. Zen, you wanna put down Bass as...
Gun it.
Alright. Easy.
Just have to speak to Edge, I guess.
Yeah, dude. Right back.
Let's move down to Pioneers then. Number 3. Pioneers. They go into the major, but they're not ranked top 2. Oh, what's happened there, Zen?
Just don't come third and get swept by GZ. I think that's the only. I'm not sure why. How recently is this? Just from the last event, these rankings?
Yeah.
I mean, this is after the last event, but it's not from the last event. Otherwise, you would just literally rank people in order, and Team Bliss would be number 4, right?
Well, no, I'm asking that because these rankings sometimes run from, teams will sometimes just instantly shoot to the top after winning an event. And then, some other rankings, the same teams that will win events just stay at the same position.
Well, I guess if you go back to the first event, I think after that one, Direwolves, I think, shot up to number 1. And that's because it had been a long off season. So it was really the only thing that could be ranked at the time. So that's more likely. Once you've actually got a few different events to actually look at, you get more of a context on who the actual best team is.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's fair enough. I just have enough history as a player looking through PRs back in 2018 being like, why am I not 7th instead of 12th? I know Pioneers, again, really low floor. Having that game 5 against Kibbles was just scary. It's not like they didn't lose, but it just wasn't the biggest confidence booster. And then having them who were really comfortable against GZ, all split, just get swept. I mean, I think it's a deserved 3rd, even if they are going to the major. GZ had a really big redemption arc this one.
Yeah, Ground Zero were pretty strong across the weekend, so that's more likely why they went down more than anything else. But I don't know, do they have a really low floor, or was it 1, maybe 2 bad series? Because, again, I feel like they've been consistent in all their other performances. That's right, they've come 2nd every time.
Well, I'm just speculating, because if you're losing to us and then almost losing to Kibbles and missing LA, I don't know, man.
Oh my god.
I mean, I'm talking about the floor. I'm talking about the floor more about when the nerves are on.
Yeah. If they had lost to Kibbles and Direwolves still lost, and then Ground Zero, so there's a lot of ifs, but if all the results happen the same way except for Kibbles winning, then it would have actually been Ground Zero at the major.
Yeah, which is crazy to think. After the whole split that Ground Zero have had that could have been if all by 1 series went a different way again.
That being said, I think Ground Zero 100% lose the grand final if the major's on the line, with 2 game 7s and extra nerves on their shoulders.
Yeah, for sure. But
it's a bit scary.
Yeah, I think Pioneers would have been pretty nervous. The org, I think, more the org than the players when they went to game 5 against Kibbles. I know the players would have been, but the org as well.
The players are definitely.
Imagine being the CEO. Imagine being the CEO and watching RL Oceania being like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Why did we pick up this team?
Yeah. But no, it's good to see them qualify. I think probably it's a good thing that they had 2 nervy games to see what they've been like, because they've basically have done a lower bracket dominant run the last 2 ones without really having a hiccup. So they have a hiccup just before the major. I think it's a good thing to have in their memory, and beat recent as well. But yeah, should be interesting.
Yeah, just make sure to get in their heads, to be honest.
Yeah.
I know Mike Prindy is the CEO of Dignitas, but whoever the Mike Prindy is of Pioneers, he's just sat there why are we paying these teenagers to choke series? What's going on?
I'll tell you what, I think the worst team acquisition of all time, at least in OCE, has been Wildcard by a very long margin.
Yeah.
That wasn't even on wildcard though. Like they had a pretty promising team, and then something unfolded.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Well, I mean,
it was a story.
Just a bit unlucky.
To be fair, it also wasn't super surprising either.
Well, no.
Yeah, they also lost Drippe too to retirement as well just before that. So
no, but that was after they picked up wildcard. Well
after, but
well after they knew Drippe and Jules had retired. That was certainly out of the thought
out of the picture for sure. But yeah,
still would have expected Mock even as a replacement to do better on that team.
Yeah, but again, was that too much pressure to begin with, and had to build into that roster?
What do you mean they beat Ground Zero? They 3-0'd him.
They beat GZ in the groups.
Yep. They did the one thing they needed to do.
They topped their group and then lost to me afterwards.
And then disbanded.
That can't be. Yeah, they lose to us twice in a row and then disband.
Yeah, I would too.
Oh, Team Slayer.
Yeah.
All right, Ground Zero, number two, Ground Zero. Which is interesting because I think they went down as low as 6th or 7th, probably 6th, I think, after event 1. And largely because again we hadn't seen anything in the off season, and then they slowly climbed their way back up to 4, and now number 2 after winning this weekend. Most notably, going to 21 games against Renegades, which for me is the most exciting part. That we're getting that it is a really, really fun battle at the very top.
Classic's back. It's good to see the rivalry back and it going the distance again. 21 games is just crazy to think, especially even in the reset too. You think that one team would have the edge, but not went all the way again. I think Amphis is the big step up this entire split. They came in really cold to start with, and he's definitely displayed.
Good to know. For me, it's been Express, because if you looked at Express early on, he was shitting the bed. He was just struggling. That's all you could say. And sure, he's not having like the most amazing performance now, or they did in this weekend. But he was clean and solid and consistent, and
it's enough.
And that's his role. That's what he's meant to do when you've got Torsos and Amphis on the team. Whether before he was like really antsy to jump as third man, he was struggling a lot. That own goal that he had this weekend, the awesome own goal over the top of Amphis, kind of felt even previously in previous weekends what he was going for all the time. So he just didn't seem to have a lot of trust or comfortability. So he's been the changer for me. What about you, Zen?
I'd agree. I think Express really stepped up. I mean, look at Toss, he just sort of remained the same. He's just always consistently good. But I don't know, it's almost like this partnership between Fs and Express where both of them just need to pick it up a bit, just a tad. I mean, they showed it off.
Yeah,
I think Fs like really came through there.
Yeah, was great.
Last event.
He had something like 19 out of the 45 goals with 13 assists. So basically, it was in it the whole time, nearly everything.
Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah.
And then also was there in defense as well, nearly up to 40 saves. So all over the field. But again, Torsos didn't really have to carry. He didn't have to put them all on the back. He was able to have Amphis in this regional help him out, and Express, even with the own goal, help out a little bit more.
I think the grand final, Express was like picking up hat tricks. He was just coming through. He was coming through huge.
Yeah.
Torsos, I think he picks out the slack when Amphis is not there, and that was the case this weekend. We never see Amphis, and we've never in the history of Amphis seen him except when he was on Fury, pop off every single series or every single game in particular. But then when he's not, usually Torsos picks out the slack, and he did that this weekend. Whether kind of we go back to the previous event number 2, and Torsos had like that really, really strong, I think it was upper bracket semi, where he just single-handedly won the entire series, and then end up being really quiet on day 3. I think, in event 2. Super quiet in that lower bracket. So it was nice to see what felt like the old Ground Zero now. And do you guys think, especially Zen, that they're going to be back at the top next split, that there's a good chance that they're back at the major?
they keep up the hours, I think they'll just rumors coming around of Anthus just not really playing as much.
Yeah, getting a girlfriend. Yikes.
Yeah, I know. What a degen move. Rocket ball it up. But I mean, he keeps on putting in the hours. Like, it came through this event, obviously. But I think the off season will be pretty telling of whether or not they take like a big break and then have to do this all over again.
I'm just sick of them like having to lose an event to get their ass into gear, which has happened both the last two splits.
Yeah, they do nothing really in the off season, majorly. Like, I know there isn't really major tournaments in the off season because it is like a bit of a break-ish, but yeah, not many abilities for them to really go out in there and continue to perform. So they've really pulled off the gas from last season where they were so dominant. I think if you compare the 2 seasons, I think they might have got a little bit demotivated, dominating the entire season to not have a world championship. So they just don't want to do the same mistake, which is weird to say, but you just feel a bit of burnout being so dominant for a while and then not getting the reward.
Yeah, I need to pinned over against the wall and just yell at him, "Bring back Masters!
Yeah,
bring it back!"
Yeah, Masters.
I'll run something in the off season if RLO aren't doing anything, but I can't promise like prize money or anything. I'll just see what I can scrape together, kind of thing. But we definitely need something a little bit on the off season. It feels like it's becoming really, really long.
Yeah,
incredibly stale. We can only live with Bluebirds for so long.
Yeah, well, I think there's something in the works, but I think it's just a one-off thing. I don't think it's a weekly thing, but we'll have to wait and see in this little bit of an off season.
Yeah. I also believe in Ground Zero in the next split. I kind of interrogated Express a little bit in the final interview of that day. Max wasn't happy about it, but I'm sick of it. I'm just sick of them having a really bad start to the split, finding out that things aren't going well, and then having to make up for it at the end. And I'm sure they should be sick
having
of it
the
too,
father,
so hopefully.
The father lecture.
Yeah, well, I did lecture him. I was like, how many hours are you putting in? And how long's the break?
Don't make me yell at you again.
Yeah.
I'll take away your Forza.
Don't make me take away your homework in your school so that you can focus on Rocket League.
Yeah.
All right, number one.
Take your life.
Number one, Renegades still staying on top. So they didn't win this event, but also they lost in 3 Game 7s, in which they won one of them, of course. And I think the story for them is they really, really could have won either of those series. I think it was Game 7. Kami had a pretty easy goal, and then Game 6 of the second series. So Game 7 of the first series, and then Game 6 of the second series, they missed like 3 nets that they probably should have scored. So a little bit similar, not quite to the same extent as KCP against Kibbles.
Yeah, I think, also Ground Zero were just trying to make a statement as well during that period. And you don't know if Renegades were still going hell for leather, knowing that they locked up first seed. Definitely looked like it. But you don't know what else was going in the back of their mind as well, knowing didn't have to try and secure a seed like they did last time.
Well, CJ did tell me afterwards, he was like, you know what, in the middle of that series, we were like, man, Ground Zero are actually trying to play. Because they've become so used to Ground Zero just kind of not being Ground Zero.
Mentally there. Yeah, mentally there, which is weird. But yeah, it was good to see. I think Kami had 31 demos across, so he's still doing his normal play style. Just going down there and just running through on the rotation.
Bit of an animal.
Yeah, I think he just, out of all the stats combined, I think he just edged out CJ. I think it was close, but I think CJ overall for the regional topped the team. So
I think Kami was the best player of the finals, though, the grand finals for Renegades.
For sure.
Which is surprising to say. Like, normally he's not considered the best.
Yeah, I think Fever had a quietish period. I don't think he did. There wasn't too many pop-offs where he just soloed it down or, dribbled it past 3 players. It was very much, he was more the assister. That's those three best of 7s. Which is good to know that he doesn't have to constantly pop off in that team. Kami can switch up a role, or CJ can bang it in, not hit the crossbar and stuff like that. It's good to know that he can do that, and be able to slot in and not have to overpressure himself to perform.
You reckon that's what they need at the major? Bit of a switch up?
I just think they need, all of them to be calm and level-headed and play the way they're meant to, which is hard to do when you're on the big stage, right?
Especially there's going to be crowds too now.
Oh, there's people there too.
Yeah.
That's new.
We saw that a bit with, I can't remember when it was. I think it was CJ upper bracket this weekend against Riot to qualify. CJ's normally ball chasing, stealing boost, going for demos, cutting in front from behind their opposition and stuff like that. But he was just running back to net a lot and getting caught out, and it was just thankful that he was up against Riot, I guess, for them, that they were able to still win despite CJ having a bit of a stinker. So if he plays like that, then it's not going to work out for them. If they play to their roles and they play comfortably, then sure, they can beat anyone, I feel like.
Yeah, I think Lockie will be hyping them up as well and keeping them.
Well, I want Lockie to not hype them up. I want Lockie to chill them out a little bit. I think now this is just like me armchair psyching a bit. From the last LAN, it was also Lockie's first LAN, so he was super hype. And maybe now that Lockie's had a bit more LAN experience, he might be able to chill them out a bit instead of going a bit overboard there. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure how exactly they're going to tackle it.
Yeah, and Fever will also be a little bit more the pioneers will be the hyped up ones, I feel like, because Fever's got the experience now having won. CJ and Kami have had plenty, so.
I mean, Fever was trying to take that LAN as chill as possible as well. He's sitting there and getting annoyed at CJ and Lockie yelling more than anything else.
Yeah. But, oh well, should be good to see. Yeah. Glad that they locked in first seed because they showed the entire split that they were a top team. They did last split, but ended up being the second seed. And everyone was like, oh, Ground Zero is the first seed because they're the top team from the previous season. And then Renegades were the better team at the 4 major. So interesting to see how they go now. Being that first seed, there is that little bit more pressure. Being that first seed from OC representing the region. And we're now, it's basically on them to really try and help to fight for that slot, an extra slot against the SAM and MENA region.
Well, I think the positive there for Renegades is they don't have to fight for that slot because they're so close to the Worlds anyway at this point that they're not fighting for the region. They just get to fight for themselves, and that might take some pressure off. I don't think there's really pressure on them because, realistically, they don't care if they earn an extra spot at the Worlds. It doesn't affect them, right?
Yeah,
if they do earn the spot, it means that they're pretty much guaranteed Worlds, though, because they'll have had so many points, and a third slot would, mean that surely they're guaranteed top 3 over the season. Yeah.
It would help them out just to not have to pressurize too much about having maybe a bad regional when they come back the next split. If we get a third slot, but yeah, they've performed well throughout all regionals. There hasn't really been a disappointing regional compared to like Ground Zero's had one this split.
To be fair, I think Renegades and Ground Zero both equally didn't do great in the first event. I think Renegades underperformed to their ability, but were able to get through their group, which was really helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's move on from the rankings, just to kind of wrap up for today and look towards the major. So Zen, you got any hot takes leading into this major?
All my hot takes is based on Pioneers. Like, I really want to see these guys do well. Just watching them in the last event, especially, like just the way that they played when the nerves were on versus off, just like night and day. They breeze through Riot without even like having to talk. But then they're losing to us when they're just feeling it. So I mean, they have fun overseas, then yeah, I have them topping their group because I think they don't care at this point. They made it. So I mean, whatever group they're in, I think they just win. I mean, that's my only hot take, really. The other ones tried making a top 8.
Well, I mean, that's a good hot take. So Trident are making top 8 in the next event or the next split?
Yeah, I think they're making a top 6.
A top 6.
A top 6.
Who is the team they're going to take out to get to top 6?
They're taking out Bandits.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Somebody's got a lot more faith than probably even Trident do.
I love Trident.
All right, what's yours, Bass?
I hope we get a Scrub v Scrub Killer. That'll be an interesting matchup to see. Pioneers have always talked about, they're looking forward to playing against like the NRGs, the EU teams, a bit of fanboying-ish. So it'll be good to see if they actually lock in and can actually put up a contest. I think they will. They might take a couple of games off, but I think they're just there more for the experience, more for the fun. But yeah, just for the novelty, I like to see a Scrub v Scrub. And Twitch chat to go crazy trying to figure out why Scrub playing on 2 teams.
I've already made so many hot takes across this split because it's been a topic for multiple things. I don't know if I really have any left, but let's just say my hot take is that 6 teams stay together. No, 5 teams stay together.
Yeah. I'll up that. We make it 6. We make it 6 teams.
Well, there'll be 6 when you move down to, I think, maybe 16, 20 Kings and Big Goose. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Hopefully a lot more of these teams. I know we've got one pick-up fun team in there, but yeah, hopefully we've got quite a few that stick together.
Fine. I'll go 7 if you include.
I'm gonna go 9. I'm gonna go 9.
9? Oh
yep.
No, you're so.
I'm in trouble.
Oh, you're so in trouble. Surely.
My real hot take is that Renegades don't make the top 8 again.
I don't think that's a hot take. I
That's
said it
my
was my
hot
hot take that they would come top 8. So
I think they drop. I don't know. I feel like they're gonna get an okay group, maybe.
I think they'll make top 12 easy, but
do we see?
I just think they don't make it out of groups.
Do we see an OC team finally playing a tiebreaker this split, or will we not participate in a single tiebreaker? That'll be interesting to see.
That's not really on the OC team though. That's more on the other teams, right? Because to get a tiebreaker, it's usually like you beat one team, they beat another team, and then that team beats you.
Yeah.
More than anything else. So
yeah, missed out on a couple of those opportunities for us this split. There was about 3 or 4 that could have happened, and people lost. And
well, you could have had, you look back at the last major, and maybe Renegades beat Furia, Furia beat G2, G2 beat Renegades, kind of deal. That's where we could kind of see that happening.
Yeah, for sure.
So entirely possible, and a lot of pressure then puts on that tiebreaker, of course.
Yeah, be funny to see. It'd be good to see because then also get the crowd involved to see an extra match that's do or die. Especially for
I think we'll definitely get a tiebreaker at the major. I think that's going to happen. There's not going to be a crowd for the tiebreakers, though, buddy.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting. I think it's all the whole thing rather than just the playoffs.
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday crowds.
Yep.
You excited for crowds back, Zan?
Yeah, I've said this since the start of this season anyway. Like, real LAN players, like really good LAN players, are just like the LAN boys are the ones who can play in front of the crowd. So the 4 major for me was just like, yeah, we'll wait until the next split. So I mean, it'll be a real test to see whether or not people actually come through.
I mean, the players were very nervous when they were in the hype chamber. From what I gathered, what I heard, but yeah, taking that then to an extra level, will be interesting. I think they were also really nervous because it was the first LAN in 2 years, so there was extra kind of pressure on them from that.
It's just such a different dimension. Like you're suddenly playing in the hype chamber to playing on a stage facing people.
Would you have preferred that when you were at the LAN to have, because the first 3 days are without a crowd, would you have preferred it to be like that?
I would have preferred a good team environment, but anyway.
That too.
And a coach. That would have been nice. I will say though, like there's been a lot more focus on player mentality and player mental health, like recently anyway. So seeing people like Lockie and Jimmer go across with Fever and Amphis has been nice to see. I think they have like really, really big impacts on how players play.
Well, players know how to play the game more than anything else. So most of the time, especially like the very top players, right? So most of the time they need, or it's better to have somebody who is qualified in the psych area much more than knowing how to play Rocket League.
Yeah, it's good to see more of them just across the top scene, just in general, not just OC, but just in general, compared to your traditional just playstyle coaches.
Yeah. Playstyle coaches are useless. They're dead.
They are dead.
Except no, not really, because I think for especially in OC, kind of like your more mid to bubble teams could definitely use it. There is a very big divide, it feels like, in terms of game knowledge that doesn't like trickle down too well between guys at the top and lower down. So there's just kind of like what are we meant to do? Is this the best? Even if it's just uncertainty rather than like lack of knowledge can also get into you there as well. Just knowing, okay, you are doing the right thing can be very difficult.
Yeah, just having any direction's good. I think there's a big gap where like players are learning fundamentals, and then gameplay coach is really good for teaching those. But then it moves into this phase where you have teams having an idea of how they want to play, and not wanting to have their entire play style run by a gameplay coach.
Yeah.
So having people like Jimmer and Seven and all these other coaches come through who are happy to just work with players to get what they want is definitely a big shift, I think, recently.
Yeah, good to see.
Awesome. Well, that's us for today. I want to thank everyone for coming along. Thank you to Zen and Bass. And thanks for
having me.
For running at Dover. Hope you guys enjoyed today. Hope you guys are ready for the Major too. So ensure that you're watching for that one. And make sure you're watching this weekend, tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, because EU, Sam and APAC on Tuesday, technically, will all be playing it out for their major spots as well.
APAC playoffs.
Let's go.
Tuesday is the APAC playoffs. So this weekend, APAC North play to determine who the top two are going, but that's almost certainly going to be Impton and Verdi. And then those guys will have to play APAC South on the Tuesday. We'll see how that goes. But for us now, that's the end of the show, and have a great night, everyone.